Amit, just hold on to that thought. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, the Chairman and Managing Director of Biocon, is also joining into this conversation. Kiran, good morning. Thanks for waiting by patiently. We didn't have much of a control on when the BJP will be releasing its manifesto and whether we will be even able to go public with it. Sorry for keeping both of you waiting. But Kiran, first your thought on some of the highlights that are coming in, that they will encourage decisiveness in the bureaucracy. Also, they've reiterated their support to the food security, just saying that they will make it more corruption-free. On any of these, your first thoughts?
You know, first and foremost, I think I agree with Amit. It's very thoughtful, and I must say there is more granularity about how they are proposing to execute, which is, I think, pretty progressive as a manifesto goes. Now, what really sort of impressed me with this manifesto was that they focused a lot on the use of technology. For instance, e-governance was a word they kept repeating over and over again. You know, Murli Manohar Joshi kept talking about e-governance, about the optic fiber, the national optic fiber project. He kept talking about decentralization, which was very, very important in terms of state-center relations. They kept talking about how are they going to focus on legal reforms, judicial reforms. Yes. Those and how do you make business simple? How do you make taxation simpler? I think they talked about rules and legal reforms and how do you make it easy for people to run businesses. I think the ease of doing business in India was something that they're really focused on, which I think is very, very important. I think we've all been talking about that. Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree that it's about execution. But I think they are in the right direction. I think they are talking about all the things that everyone has been talking about, but they've actually put it together in a very cohesive way.
No, I take your point. There are a lot of issues on the judicial reform.
Including the food security aspect.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah. I also think that when they talked about food security, it was not about doles. It was really about how do you bring down inflation and wastage in agriculture. They talked about how you create this, this rail network for agricultural produce to be shipped very efficiently across the country. They talked about, as you called it, the agriculture fund, to make sure that you create a platform for the whole fiscal aspect of regulating agricultural produce and not letting prices go out of control. Yep. Things like that. I think they've thought about various challenges and various issues in a very granular way. So they haven't just, as you said, made just sort of spoken homilies, but they've actually then decided that, okay, these homilies also need some granularity in terms of how they want to execute. And so that gives you some comfort that they really understand the issues.
Yeah, it does seem, because it is a very, very exhaustive manifesto, and as you said, Kiran, with a great deal of granularity, actually even on judicial reform, a National Judicial Commission, filling in vacancies, using more of the electronic medium to fast track. And to be fair, the first NDA government had also tried to revamp the criminal procedure code and try to, end all cases in 2 years. No appeals beyond 2 years, but nothing came of it since it was not taken up subsequently. But to be fair, they have had their eye on the ball on judicial reform. Amit, from what you have heard, do you think the BJP will be able to deliver better on certain things like PPP, the public-private model, which has really gone into a lot of litigation? Do you see them, what stands out for you in the BJP manifesto?
Well, as I said, I think a fair amount of thought has gone into it. I mean, I have yet to go into the details, but it sounds quite promising. It looks interesting. And as I said, I think execution is the key, but, I like the effort that has gone into it.
Okay. Well, there are some more details that they have put out on their manifesto in terms of increasing opportunities by making job creation central to their economic model, ensuring a basic level of infrastructure to all, home, electricity, water, toilets, etc. Also identifying 100 most backward districts of the country to bring them at par with other districts. So a lot of focus has been also made on growth, Amit. What is your assessment of how soon we can see the revival of the investment cycle once the new government comes into play? And if it is sooner rather than later, would you at this point in time think of increasing your portfolio stance towards some of these cyclical names that have been seeing favor of late?
I think the challenge for any administration that comes in is they will actually inherit a very difficult economy, to say it lightly. I mean, if you see, 8 to 10% of inflation over the last 7 to 8 years have resulted in India becoming significantly uncompetitive in a lot of areas. Food inflation is actually reaching developed country levels in a number of foods. You have, fiscal deficit, which is very high. You have a current account deficit that has been artificially brought under control, in my opinion. And you have a high fiscal deficit irrespective of not really spending much on infrastructure, on domestic security, on healthcare. So it's going to be very difficult. And I think what will be very critical is confidence of Indians, confidence of entrepreneurs who, which will lead to a revival of investment climate, in my opinion. So confidence is the key. But government finances are in a difficult situation, and that's what worries me going forward.
Also,
okay, I finally hear something.
On the banking
Sonia,
sector, there's an important point on NPA.
No. More importantly, fiscal discipline.
Okay.
I mean, I'm really glad to hear one sentence. If I mean, the adjectives and adverbs used are important. Strictly implement fiscal discipline, and fiscal discipline is in block letters over there. Strictly implement fiscal discipline without compromising on funds availability for development work and asset creation. Do you think, Amit, this will be taken very positively by foreign investors like yourselves?
See, today, if you look at government's balance sheet, subsidies plus interest is about 60% of revenue. So, as I said, it's a difficult situation. But I think what is critical is normalized fiscal deficit, right? I mean, if you look at the US during the financial crisis, I mean, budget deficits went to, I think, 8 or 9% of GDP, and now it has come back as economy is picked up. So the question is, even if you increase the fiscal deficit, I mean, is it for a productive purpose? I mean, if you're increasing your fiscal deficit, but it is resulting in asset creation, what really happens is, after 2 or 3 years, your tax revenues increase and your fiscal deficits come down. So it's not, from my perspective, it's not that I want to see a fiscal deficit of 4% tomorrow. I mean, it has to be brought down in a reasonable period. But, if you are spending more on fiscal deficit, I mean, it has to be spent on infrastructure building, in my opinion.
Well, all the right